Announcement today, they were like, we're going to Voyager K-8. And I was like, what is that? Because, I know the schools. I've been around to so many in this, and they're like, it just opened last year. I was like, okay, there, but they opened just last year and already are performing, number 3 in the state and year 1 as a school. And their the enrollment increase. And I know they're continuing to do well here. So we really thank them for hosting us. And, sometimes it's hard to keep up with the Joneses with this school or in this school. It's really significant, particularly in this part of the state. We're joined today by our Attorney General, James Uthmeyer, Florida Education Commissioner, Stasi Kamoutsis. I warned the superintendent, everyone be on your best behavior, because if you're not, you get a nasty gram from Stasi. He'll send that out very quickly. We do have our superintendent for Osceola County School District, Dr. Mark Shanoff, and I want to thank him for not just being here today, but being really a great partner on a lot of important things for our students over the years. So thank you for doing that. Jason Broder from the Florida Senate is here, Central Florida. And then we have Representatives Smith, Cobb, and Stark from the Florida House of Representatives. I want to thank them for being here. Before I get into today's announcement, I just want to make some comments. I have been out and about asked, but we had a situation where you had an illegal alien driving one of these massive semi-trucks in Florida, was not a license in Florida, had a California driver's license, of course, and going down the lane, and I think we've all who've driven in Florida, there'll be breaks in these highways where it'll be for official use only, and that's really for the highway patrol and law enforcement to be able to get around and do what they needed to do. Well, this guy thought that he should just try to turn a semi-truck around in that, and of course that doesn't happen on a dime, so you had a car coming, run into it, and it ended up killing 3 people, all from Florida. And that should have never happened. He should have never been here. He certainly shouldn't have gotten a commercial driver's license from California. And, it's disturbing, too, because if you look, we have video of this. We have photos of this. And he seemed to not it was almost like, he was walking down the sidewalk, maybe stubbed his toe, just kind of it was like it didn't register to him, what had happened. And I'm like, that is really, really cold. But it raises these issues of, in Florida, what we've said is, we're not giving licenses if you're here illegally. We're not giving ID cards. In fact, you can't even do like these NGOs want to issue. We don't allow that. We don't recognize California driver's licenses. And so we're creating a situation where following the law is the right thing to do and violating the law is the wrong thing to do. Now, California, they do it differently. They invite people to come illegally. They provide benefits. They provide a lot of different things. I mean, honestly, some of them get treated better than blue-collar Americans out there with their policies. So that ends up attracting. It creates more of this, and it's frustrating because here we are in Florida. We are doing the right thing. I mean, in the legislate, I've got Jay Broder and these guys have helped us craft these policies. Blaise Angolio is now the chief financial officer, instrumental working on some of this stuff over the years. We've worked really hard on it, and then to have like a California send this guy in and create havoc for our state, that's just fundamentally wrong. But what it shows is it can't just be like we do things right in Florida and somehow that's going to cure what's happening on the left coast and some of these other places. Ultimately, Congress has the power of the purse. They do not need to fund you if you're a sanctuary state. They can remove funding from sanctuary cities. So stop subsidizing this. You have people that are in Congress that are complaining about what happened. And while I appreciate the sympathy, it's like you guys have the power of the purse. You can discipline these states that don't follow the law and incentivize law breaking. You could do that very quickly. You also can address another problem with this situation. This guy comes in from India illegally across the U.S.-Mexico border, and he claims asylum. Now, think about that. It'd be one thing if, like, when people, would come from Cuba and they claim asylum because this was the first place they could get to, right? And you've had situations where this has happened. You're coming from India. How many other countries are you going through? And then you show up in the southern border and say asylum? Like, why didn't you get asylum somewhere else? So they're abusing the process and the statutes that we have in the United States of America, and they're trained to do this. So you have massive numbers of people that have claimed it. Millions and millions have claimed it, just leaving country in Central America. They're not truly seek. They're just basically economic migrants, however you're doing it. And so you have this incentive. So he was basically given some type of preliminary determination. They say, okay, you'll have a hearing in 2 or 3 years, and then it gets pushed, and then it gets pushed, and all this stuff. And it's basically a one-way ratchet. You can come in pretty much unfettered. Well, in the past you could illegally. And then if there's any type of law enforcement, it's like this massive bureaucratic maze that you have to go through. And so Congress can address that too. Congress can address the abuse that we're seeing in this asylum process, because I'd say 95% of the people that are claiming it just factually do not even come close to meeting what should be. But they do. They say the magic words. They get an initial determination. They get a court date, and you do. And that was something that happened with this guy that came in illegally from India. So to have 3 people killed, so senseless. So absolutely enraging to see this happening, knowing that none of this, that all this could have been prevented. But Florida, we've been leading on this. We're doing a whole bunch of stuff, I think, as a lot of people know, because we believe it's important, that we have law and order prevail across the spectrum. But Congress, they go on TV and they'll complain about stuff. You have power of the purse. You have power to legislate. You can fix these problems. You really can fix these problems. And I would just love to see some action out of the folks in Washington, D.C. Now, we're here today to talk about Florida getting more accountability with respect to, in this instance, supporting our school districts throughout the state of Florida who are trying to do